So, you join me at work. Makes a nice change, doesn't it? For you. So I'm driving a TVR Chimaera today. This is a 1993 TVR Chimaera. It's a really early one. For those who are TVR geeks, I have my door release twisty knobby thing in with the gear lever, which is not separate, which means it's got a rover gearbox. So yeah, this is old. I actually really like the early ones like this. So this is nice, but it's not as nice as it could be. I don't know if the microphone will pick it up, but on one of the cylinders, I can hear every single stroke, or every single firing stroke anyway. And that's because this car seems to have a leaky exhaust manifold gasket. I don't know for sure that it's that. TVR Chimaeras and Griffiths use the same exhaust manifolds, or headers, as they're sometimes called, and there is a chance that the header itself has cracked. That does happen, but it's not common. It's known, but it's not, you know, I think of all the times I've done exhaust gaskets, I've probably seen one or two that are like that. Oh God, this is quite bad. So this car's come in with the noise. This is a car that I did the chassis on many years ago, probably about 6 years ago, something like that. So these gaskets, I would have expected them to last a little bit longer if I'm honest, but they do chew through them. It's quite a known thing. You can't tell if you've got the problem when you're on the overrun like this, and you can't always tell when the engine's hot because everything expands and gaps close up. But if the engine is fairly cold at the moment, a Mark II Polo. So what you want to do is load the engine up. So I'm doing like 30 miles an hour. I'm in 4th gear, which means I'm turning 1,000 RPM. And if I give it half throttle, yeah, you can hear it. Definitely leaking. Now, there's a chance, I was going to say before this video started, there's a chance that the gasket is simply, or the bolts have come loose. They do that. But that is leaking so badly, that gasket is going to be ruined. That's really bad. Picked a good car to do it, and if this mic can't pick that up, it'll never pick it up. It does also do it when it's cold. So when you start the engine, you first start it, that's when you're going to hear it like this. And that's a cold start, so that's stone cold, just listening in the engine bay with the microphone, so you can hear the ticky noise, the chitty tap tap. That's really what it is. So yeah, basically there's nothing for it. I'm going to have to take this back to the workshop and pull the exhaust manifold off, which is, well, it's not fun on any car, but on this, yeah. I can hear it on tick over, that's how bad it is. Wow. That's not good. It really is quite significant. Tell you what, it says something when it's ticking to the point that it's like making the indicators sound strange. I wonder if a bit of heat will shut it up. No. These cars are great. They really are. Right, so since the test drive, I've come back. I've let the engine cool down, which was important for working on the exhaust manifold. I'm now going to take the exhaust manifold off, which means I've got to take the exhaust system off. You'll see why in a minute. I mean, sometimes I'd say, oh, maybe try tightening the bolt up or whatever, but that is leaking so badly that if the bolt is loose and I manage to tighten it, the gasket is still going to be knackered anyway, because that is properly blowing, but I don't think it will be. I think it will still be tight. I think it's just blown the gasket. It'll be interesting to see if the heads have had any tickling. TVR Power did used to do a little bit of trickery with these in terms of gas flow or port the heads. To get a bit more grunt, and this one goes okay. It's only a 400, but it does go all right, unlike the later Chimaera 400s, which are basically just Land Rover Discovery engines, as far as I can tell. I've got one of them. Later Chimaera, not a Discovery. Yeah, no, these early ones, they go well. So, right, exhaust off. So you might be wondering why I need to remove the entire exhaust system. Well, it's because the manifold, or header, whatever you want to call it, is up there. Yeah, I can't really get to it with the manifold in the way. Now, I've got to be honest, though, you can see how new those gaskets are, but I think it's blown the gasket up there. That one there. It doesn't look like it's blown, but we'll have to have a look. It certainly seems like it's coming from that area at the back. But yeah, the whole exhaust is in the way. So we're undoing the bolts here. This is the only bracket that the exhaust has securing it to the engine at the front, other than the manifold bolts. So you can see how the manifold loops around the front of the exhaust, or starts off on the heads, I should say, and then loops round forward and down and then back. So it's quite a lot hanging on it. And then it's bolted on in various places there, and the anti-roll bar's got to come off again. I forgot about that. Joy. So yeah, I'm going to pull that off now. And then the access to the underside of the manifold will be much better. Funny how every job on a TVR Chimaera or Griffith seems to involve removing the exhaust. Because it's like, you want to do the manifold gaskets, got to remove the exhaust. Want to change the fuel hoses, got to remove the exhaust. Handbrake cables, got to remove the exhaust. Fuel filter, you can do it without removing the exhaust, but it's not fun. Yeah. What number did you put this on last? Has it got a half in it or a 7/16? Half. Seem to vary. Oh no. Oh, that's a 15/32. Stupid sizes. Smooth. Right. And then easy. And now we can see there is access. I can even touch the fixings with my hand, which for a TVR is not bad going. So we've got 4 bolts under there, 4 along the top. Brilliantly, these are all stainless 3/8 head, basically meaning you can fit a 10mm ratchet spanner on them. Because the originals have a much larger head and are much harder to turn. But these will all come undone because they were not put in long ago. There's the remains of the exhaust, which passes up there above the steering rack and in front of, or behind the radiator. But yeah, right, we need to go up the top now. Actually, no, I'll crack these off first. I'm intrigued because I serviced this car last year, and as part of a service, on a Chimaera or Griffith, you check the exhaust manifold bolts and you nip them up if needed to prevent this problem. It hasn't done a huge amount of miles since then, so these should not be loose. And that's come loose. How could it have come loose so fast? Oh no, hang on. No, it's not loose. God. No, it's not. I thought it was. Well, if anything, the middle one was looser, or not as tight. That is strange. It's normally the one at the back. It's the one at the front, like. Oh no, that's tight. So it could be that this manifold's a little bit bowed. That's common. Right, okay. The gaskets definitely need doing because I can see this one is lifted, swollen. So we'll pull them out. So I'll just crack all these off. They've got these like Nord locking washers on them as well. It's a kit you can buy from. Oh, I can't do well, can I do sponsors? I don't know. If you spell out the initials of the company is ACT. These have been in there. I mean, when did I put this one back together? It's got to be about 6 years ago. And so, you know, it's not that they've failed instantly. It has been used, but at the same time, I'd kind of expect it to go a little bit longer than that. But I'm going to look at the port sizes. Just wondering if it's got... There's a couple of cars I look after, Griffiths, which have got... They're 500s, and one of them is a 430, but some of the 500s, they just chew through the gaskets. I'll show you why in a minute, but on those, I use a slither, and I'm talking a slither of sealant, which you really shouldn't do before a cap, but otherwise it just keeps blowing. So, and it's not hard putty either. That's the thing. It's exhaust putty that you shouldn't do that with. And this isn't hard putty. This is almost like RTV, but very high temp. Right, so we're up on the top now, and the first thing to do here is get rid of this. And I'm hoping I can get away with leaving this in. Certainly take the airflow meter out. Hopefully this captive doesn't break off. I think we got away with it. There we go. One. Now, is that an airflow meter? No, it's a MAF. It's a mass airflow sensor. Because there is a difference. These are funny little things. These are spark plug extenders. Well, that's what they're known as in the TVR community. And they've given a lot of grief. These were fitted to TVRs from new because when you look down there, the gap between the exhaust and the spark plugs is tight. And if you were to use a normal Rover V8 spark plug, well, I don't know why this one's got an odd spark plug on it. Probably because it got burnt out like these. Yeah, if you were to use the lead straight onto the plug, the exhaust would wreck it. So TVR put these on. Extenders, goes on the plug, changes the angle slightly, HT lead goes onto it. Brilliant idea. In fact, these are resistive as well, which means you can use non-resistive spark plugs and these, and you won't scramble your ECU. I mean, you probably wouldn't anyway, but, you know, or make your radio go, wee! Yeah, great idea. Until you can't get them anymore. Because these are off of Vauxhall. I think I think it's a Vauxhall that only uses one. I think one end of the cylinder head has it fitted. The old 8-valve engines, if I remember rightly. And one of the TVR parts suppliers looked into getting these remade by the original manufacturer and everything. And they did. So everyone bought new ones, took their old ones off. Some people threw them away. And then 18 months later, they all started playing up. And it's because, and this one's okay, the plastic insulator in here was made out of a different type of plastic, and you weren't allowed to use the older type because of chemicals and modern regulations and things. And yes, they were no good. They were getting baked by the exhaust. But you go back to the supplier, and the supplier says, well, they're perfectly good for the application, which was a Vauxhall in the first place, not a TVR. So yeah, great. So if you have got a new set of those, you've still got the old ones in the garage, do not throw them away. You'll probably be putting them back on soon. Right, so I've cleared everything out down here. Let's get this out of the way. I'll be doing a service on this as well soon. So I've got the bolts down here, got the 4 on the top, and then at the front I've got all this. I'll show you all that in a minute. Let's just make sure these bolts come undone. Right, so I've moved you up here. You can't really see me, but I am here. Look, there's my hand. So I thought I'd show you quickly what the dealio is here, because a lot of people will look under the bonnet of a TVR and they'll go, oh, it's just bonkers. It's just bonkers. And like thinking there's no real reason for it other than TVR are just trying to be bonkers. But there is a reason. To the exhaust on this car, there's obviously a V8 engine, a Rover V8. You've got head here, head over there. 4 branches here, 4 branches there. They go together at the front here. They meet in this thing here called a Y-piece, which is also on this car the catalytic converter on most TVRs. Griffiths and Chimaeras, it's a catalytic converter. You don't see many without. There are some, but not many. In fact, in the case of Chimaeras, I've never seen any. So you've got a main cat down there, which is like a dustbin. On each side on the headers, or manifolds, you've got these. These are little pre-cats. So you've got a little tiny cat there, and a big one there. These, all they really do is bring the emissions down when the engine's cold, when it's richest. Because when it's hot, it doesn't need them. It goes through the emissions tests without them. So, you know, as far as I can make out, and the problem people get is that these get really hot and they can break up, and then they can go round and shot blast the main cat, which does it no good. So yeah, a lot of people get rid of those, but if you get rid of them, you kind of get a little bit more noise and resonance under here, a little bit like a leaky exhaust manifold. It's a bit chitty, a bit tap, 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 rattle, rattle. I think those are still in. The difference with this car, as I said, well, the difference with any TVR or with, you know, with a Griff or Chimaera is the exhaust sweep forward like this and then go underneath the car and backwards. And you think, well, why are they doing that? That's just stupid. Why doesn't it just come out the engine and go backwards? Well, I'll show you why. I realised by like sticking up for TVR and sort of saying, actually, some of these things are quite clever, that I'm going against the main narrative. And I will probably not get as many views on here as I would do if I said something like, oh my God, TVR is hilarious, oh, it's so bonkers, fall apart. But, you know, look at these things in context. These are very, very, very cleverly built cars. If you compare it to a Porsche 911, then yes, you're going to be found wanting, but you shouldn't compare it to a Porsche 911. You should compare this to a Caterham or a Westfield. Kit cars, really, because that's the engineering, only they've managed to productionize everything. And they're very, very clever. Last one. Nearly there. Right. Bolt is now undone. One gasket's fallen out already. There's the other one. Oh, yeah. So I'm hoping it should, as long as it gets around that. Go on. There you go. And there we go. Manifold removed, so... Oh, she's had some head work. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, very... Yeah, the rear one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's that middle one. Properly blown. I'm going to measure those ports because they look big. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh. 26.7. 27.1. Okay. Well, they're hand finished, aren't they? Standard ones are about 24. Oh, no, 20. Oh, no, take it back. 27.1. I mean, the biggest ones I've ever seen, steady, were on a factory spec 430 big valve Griffith. And I suspect a 450 SE wedge would be the same, but I've not taken the manifold off one of those. But the Griffith, yeah, the proper 430 big valve, they were sizable. So those ports are big. And the issue that gives you is the gaskets themselves often aren't big enough. And they'd end up restricting the head, which would not be ideal. Well, it would basically remove the advantage of having a ported head. Although I haven't actually looked to see what the manifold is. It'd be hilarious if the manifold's standard spec, but whatever. We'll look at that another time. So that's the gasket that fell out the front. And it's not as bad. It's actually sealed okay. I think these are going to need a bit of sealant. That is thin around there. You can buy gaskets for the big bore or the big port heads. It started to fail there. It's being pinched. I don't know if you can see that. It suggests it's big. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's lost its strength, hasn't it? So, right. Where's the other one? Oh, yeah. There's the other one. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, but yeah, it's properly eaten it. And it's been leaking here, which would be... Oh, that's weird. That's the outer one. Oh, no, it's leaking here as well. So, yeah, the inner one. Right. I better go and see what gaskets I've got in stock. I hope I've got some gaskets in stock. Just made my way over to measure the ports on a standard Rover V8, 4 litre. Yeah. And that's on a, well, that's on a standard V8S engine, which was in production like a year or two after this one. So yeah, that's the level of tuning this has had. The fact that this engine's got that little 250 badge there, I mean, on a TVR, that badge, whatever's on there, doesn't necessarily mean that's what the engine is, but in this instance, I think it is. So I'm just going to see if I can hopefully relatively easily clean off the remains of the gasket on here. I mean, normally these are properly baked on. Well, why did that job take so long? Oh, that took way longer than it should have done. Luckily, doing the manifold will be a lot quicker because it's off the car. I can just do it here. Please excuse the mess. Now, these are the two that were leaking the most. I don't think the head is that well matched to the exhaust, is it? I mean, look. Look at the witness mark. It does still have the pre-cat, I expect. Yeah, there it is. There is the pre-cat. Doesn't look like it's breaking up. That's good. And then this all needs doing. But there is a quicker way of doing it than a drill. Yeah, that is quite heavily pitted. Sorry. Yeah, that is, no wonder that's struggling to seal. I think we'll give it a run with the funky sealant on there. and if it goes again, that is going to need refacing. But by the time you set up an engineering shop, they set up their equipment to reface that, labour time, you might as well just buy a new set of manifolds. There we go. Tune. Right, so I've just gone and opened the door to try and reduce the chances of me getting some horrible illness. This is the special goo. So what I'm going to do here is fit the new gaskets. These are the thin wall ones. They're sort of, they're bigger than the manifolds. I'm going to pop these on here with the goo. So what I'm going to do, little slither of this, just to sort of go around the, help it out with the pitting, because it's doesn't need much. Right, so I just go for a little, say it's only got to be a skim, it hasn't got to be crazy. And then that can go on there. I'm going to give it a little bit of, it's only going to just be the overflow of the sealant. So you don't want to go nuts with it, because what you don't want is to put it on, crank all the bolts up, and then big like lumps of sealant splurge out the side of the gaskets and get swept up into the exhaust and fired at the cat. This stuff goes off soft, so it's not going to damage the cat, but even so, it's not the done thing. There's a 500 I look after, which has got quite big ports on it, because of course they're all done by hand, so they vary. So like, there's a difference. There's a 500 that's got quite big ports, and there's a 4.3. Lovely bloke called Tim owns that. Hello, Tim, if you are watching. And that one had to have some sealant on, because it just kept. It's got an RPI stage 3 heads on it, and it just keeps chewing the manifold gaskets up. Now I'm going to put cable ties on. And you're like, what? It's a good way of the gaskets not falling off. And then when you put it on the engine, you can cut them off. And if you forget to cut them off, they will burn off. They'll just melt and fall off. So, win-win. It only took me about 45 minutes to get the manifold off. Try doing that on your driveway. Yeah, I mean, you can see where the hours go when you're doing this kind of stuff. You could do it quicker if you didn't clean all the carbon off, and if you didn't redress everything, and if you didn't put the sealant on, and you didn't check the clearances and everything like that. Now this gasket, I forget which type of gasket it is that I need. There are two types. Yeah, I know. I promise you though, look. Hole lined up. Yeah. Well done, TV. Oh no, which one went to... Damn. It's not that one, it's the other one. That's the one that came out the packet, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. That doesn't need sealant, because these never had a problem sealing these up. So yeah. Right. Back on she goes. This is the most fiddly bit, because you've got to get the bolts through the gasket. Where's my ratchet spanner? The beauty of the 3/8. The beauty of the 3/8 headed bolts is that on some of them,
to get them started, you can fit a 10mm ratchet spanner like that. I just need to, I mean, I've got to go home in a minute. Nearly run out of time. But I just want to get the bit with the sealant done up so that it's got a chance to set overnight. Now, you might be looking at me all crazy, going, why are you oiling the bolts like this? Well, because as I said earlier on, the stainless bolts can have this habit of kind of fusing together. I think it's if they're slightly different grades or qualities of stainless, and it gets really annoying. So I just oil them, because the worst case scenario is that when I start it up, some of them smoke a little bit. Not really the end of the world, is it? Obviously they stop, otherwise it would be a problem. Do you know, if it was my car, I'd be strangely tempted to leave each bolt like the other way round. Just to f with people, really. I mean, I don't. And then pop these back on. Doing a service, but don't need to change the plugs because I changed them last year. And remember to cut the cable ties. He says, not being able to get to them. There you go, I can see now. With my Whiteland Restorations hat torch thing. So I've put everything back together, mostly.